Linda returned early from her business trip, much to her delight. This was because the next day was December 31st. She went straight to work from the airport, shared results of her business trip, and exchanged New Year's gifts with her colleagues. After work, she headed home to prepare for the holiday celebrations. Her coworkers invited her to stay and celebrate the upcoming holiday a little. However, Linda declined, citing fatigue and the need to drive home. She also decided not to inform her husband about her early return, wanting to surprise him. On her way home, Linda stopped at a supermarket. She filled her basket with vegetables, fruits, fish, delicacies, drinks, ice cream, candy, and other goodies. The woman knew her husband had probably consumed all the food she had prepared before her business trip. She also knew that going grocery shopping was a daunting task for him. He worked as a leading programmer in an IT company and spent most of his free time at the computer. When she reached home, she only took her travel bag inside, planning to ask her husband to help with the groceries in the trunk. Effortlessly ascending to the 4th floor, Linda entered her apartment and immediately noticed Patty's slippers. Patty was her next-door friend. She must be feeding Stefan again, Linda thought with slight anger. She had repeatedly asked Patty not to feed her husband pies, fearing that Stefan's sedentary lifestyle would transform him into a round bun. As Linda was about to announce her arrival, she heard a familiar sound from the slightly open bedroom door. She listened from the hallway, and there was no doubt about what her husband and their neighbour were doing. Leaving her bag by the entrance, Linda cautiously approached the bedroom and peered into the room. She saw 2 plump figures engaged in love on the marital bed. Linda was too stunned to react vocally to her unfaithful husband and unreliable friend. Instead, she felt nausea rising in her throat. She wanted to breathe in some fresh, frosty air, so she left the apartment and got into her car. The unpleasant scene still etched in her mind. "These 2 disgusting jerks are so alike," she remarked bitterly as tears welled up in her eyes. Her first instinct was to rush to the airport and catch the next flight to her hometown, where her parents and son lived. After finishing school, their son had decided to attend college in his grandparents' city, which he then made his permanent home. Linda was happy about this fact. Her parents were getting old, and the presence of their grandson gave meaning to their life, and the young man was under the care of the elders. However, she quickly dismissed the idea, knowing her sudden arrival might worry her parents, especially if she came without her husband. Linda wished she could lean on her friend for support, but that friend was currently in bed with her husband. Linda sobbed again. Her thoughts returned to when Patty, a divorced woman without children, moved into the apartment next door. She worked as a dispatcher at a transportation company and would sometimes look after Linda's son when she and Stefan were at work. Patty was a fantastic cook, especially at baking, and she frequently shared her delicious masterpieces with her neighbours. Linda was a good hostess, but indifferent towards baking. She aimed to diversify her dishes and cooked something exquisite or a family favourite on weekends. She had to go on quarterly business trips, but her family was used to it. Although before leaving, Linda always prepared meals for her family and bought the necessary groceries in reserve. She was grateful to Patty for helping with household chores in her absence. Linda often made gifts for Patty, and together they would enjoy tea with Patty's cakes and pastries in her kitchen. "What do these men want? My husband had a delicious meal at home every day, and a beautiful woman as well," she used to lament. "But he found some ugly woman who can't even cook eggs. You know, your husband is a gem. He doesn't drink, smoke, and is always home. You're lucky." "You'll be lucky too, Patty, for sure," Linda would reassure her. "I wish I was lucky," sighed her friend. "I should hope and wait. A whole life is still ahead of me." How could she do that? Linda wondered, remembering such heart-to-heart conversations. When her tears subsided, she opened the glove compartment for tissues and found a gift for her husband she had bought before her business trip. There were a bunch of keys to the summer house lying around. The decision was made quickly. Linda started the car and drove out of town towards the summer house. The thermometer displayed a temperature of 10 degrees below zero. The holiday lights twinkled throughout the city, and if it weren't for the ruined evening, Linda might have welcomed the new year with joy. However, as she moved further from the city, her calmness increased. The woman realized that there was little she could do to repair or alter her current situation. But she was sure that she would not want to see her husband or her neighbour in the near future, let alone communicate with them. Their country house was equipped for year-round living. Thus, without hesitation, Linda decided to spend a few days there. She turned onto her street settlement and mentally thanked the local community leader for arranging a tractor to clear the road before the holiday. Linda wasn't concerned about the condition of the house. She had managed to persuade Stefan to visit on weekends. They tidied up the house and cleared the paths. Linda went skiing, while Stefan settled by the stove with his laptop. However, now her joy was short-lived. After the community leader's house, she noticed mountains of snow piled up on the sides of the narrow road. And then there was an only white expanse, marked by deep tyre tracks from an only car that had passed before her. Linda drove a few meters before realizing that the car was stationary ahead. The driver was attempting to rock the car back and forth. This might take a while, Linda thought, noticing the man walking towards her. Under her headlights, she had a clear view of him. The tall, slender brunette was a stranger to her. The man was dressed in an unbuttoned, short sheepskin coat, and he had an appealing haircut. Linda rolled down her window for a closer look. The man in his 40s had a 2-day stubble that added to his charm. His smooth eyebrows, open forehead and piercing grey eyes, framed by thick lashes, made him look masculine and attractive. He is indeed handsome. What a waste of such gorgeous lashes on a man, she thought excitedly. Then she chided herself. What am I thinking? Stuck on this country road? Good evening. The stranger greeted her with a pleasant baritone that warmed her tense spirit. Well, perhaps not quite a good one, she replied with a sigh. I'm sorry, I seem to have been stuck here for a while. The road ahead isn't cleared at all. What am I supposed to do? Linda asked sadly. Why don't you back up, then drive my car, and I'll try to push it, suggested the stranger. Let's give it a try, Linda agreed. After a short drive back to the community leader's house, she exited her car and immediately felt the chill. The frosty air seemed to penetrate every cell of her body. She yearned to be in her cottage, warm by the fireplace, sipping hot tea. The woman donned the hood of her short mink coat, which covered her hairdo, and gave her a stern look. You will be my saviour, the man said, looking deeply into her brown eyes. Oh, I could have been in your position. I consider myself fortunate that you were driving ahead. How far is your house? She asked. It's at the end of the street. It belongs to my friend, not me. Linda was curious why the stranger was heading to someone else's cottage on a winter evening, especially considering the untouched snow indicated no one was there. However, she was not one to pry into a stranger's business, especially when she had enough concerns of her own, so she didn't inquire further. Well, you won't get there by car today, she said, but my house is very close. We've almost reached it. I suggest we walk to the house, grab some shovels, and clear the driveway. Then I'll pull into the parking lot, and you can turn around and go back to town. In fact, I don't need to go back there, the stranger said quietly. What do you mean? Linda asked. Well, it's like that joke. The husband comes back from a business trip and there's an unpleasant surprise waiting for him in the bedroom, the man said, his voice laced with sarcasm. Are you also from a business trip? No way, Linda exclaimed, highly emotional. Sorry? What do you mean? What's there to not understand? I mean, I also returned from a business trip at the wrong time, Linda replied, bitterness in her voice. Oh, I'm sorry. the stranger said, embarrassed. Well, don't apologize. Let's do something with the snow, or I'll turn into a snowman myself. You're more of a snow queen, said the stranger, looking at the woman with interest. Shall I take that as a compliment? Linda asked, smiling sadly. I mean it sincerely. Maybe I just phrased it poorly. The Snow Queen is cold and wicked, but you are beautiful and sweet. Thank you for your kind words, but I'm actually about to freeze, Linda said, shivering. I'm all ears. Lead the way, said the stranger playfully, bringing his palm to his temple. Go ahead then, Linda said with a smile. She circumvented his car, stepping into a thick layer of snow. Her high suede boots allowed her to walk in the snow without fear of soaking her thin tights. To make her stride more comfortable, Linda lifted her skirt and confidently walked towards her destination. Upon reaching the gate, she opened it and continued toward the house. The man wearing boots tried to follow Linda's footsteps, unable to take his eyes off her slender legs. Only a fool would cheat on a woman like that, he thought. Well, hello, sweet home, Linda said as they arrived at the front door. Let's check if there's electricity first, she suggested, unlocking the door. I hope we're done with unpleasant surprises for today, the man remarked. I hope so too, Linda replied as she entered the house. She walked to the electrical box, flipped all the switches, and the lights came on immediately. Oh, at least we have some luck, she sighed with relief. The stranger glanced around the tidy, comfortable kitchen. Do you know how to use the fireplace? Linda asked, activating the electric heater in the chilly house. I do, the man responded, smiling. Then Linda went into the next room, where she took jeans and a sweater out of the closet and changed quickly. When she returned to the living room, she found the stranger sitting on a low stool, warming his hands with the heat coming from the fireplace, where the logs were crackling merrily. Well, I guess it's time for us to get acquainted. My name is Linda, she introduced herself. And my name is Kevin, he replied, looking at the woman with interest. Linda, you've magically transformed from an elegant lady into a beautiful country girl. Thank you. I have something for you too, Linda replied with a smile. She took her husband's jacket off the coat rack and pulled out a knitted cap and mittens from the shelf. Don't worry, everything is clean. I always rewash everything in the fall. These might be a bit large, but they're more comfortable than your stylish sheepskin coat. I appreciate it, Linda. Kevin smiled warmly. Then Linda brought out 2 pairs of gumboots. She put one pair on and offered the other to Kevin. Beauty can't be spoiled by anything, she said sincerely. Thanks, Linda. Now I'm certain I won't get cold. Good. Enough of talking. We have important work ahead, Linda said, gesturing for Kevin to follow her outside. They took their shovels and began to clear away the snow to make room for the car. As soon as the driveway and parking lot was cleared, both cars were parked in front of the house. We did an impressive job, Linda exclaimed happily. That's right, well done. You know, this unexpected exercise in the fresh air has lifted my spirits. Yeah, mine too, Linda agreed. Linda, please, lend me a shovel. I'm going to try to clear a path to my friend's house. Sure, you can take not only a shovel, but also my skis if you like. But we can do it later. Let's go inside and have hot tea for now. I wouldn't say no to dinner, to be honest. I haven't eaten anything this morning. Yes, and I'm starving too. To our luck, I have plenty of food in the car. I have supplies too, said Kevin, heading for his car. Soon they entered the warm house, removed their outerwear, and began to set the table. You have a very comfortable house, Kevin observed, looking around. Yes, I love this house, and try to visit as often as possible. I understand why. There's a different atmosphere here. I'd say an aura. And I'm glad to have ended up being your guest. Who would have thought I'd spend the night in such pleasant company, said the man with a smile. And I can say the same, Kevin. Thank you for distracting me from my sad thoughts, Linda said, studying her guest carefully. He was wearing a dark blue sweater, and it couldn't hide his impressive shoulders from her gaze. How could anyone cheat on a man like that? She wondered as she arranged her food. Linda, let's avoid discussing unpleasant matters, shall we? There'll be plenty of time to think and reconsider, but not today. It's been a long day. How about a shot of brandy? I wouldn't mind, Kevin, Linda replied, pulling out 2 shot glasses. They ate heartily and with pleasure, consuming almost a third of the bottle of brandy. Thank you, Linda. Everything was delicious. But it's getting late and I should leave. Kevin, don't think anything of it, Linda said hesitantly. But could you stay the night? I can set up your bed here in the living room. She gestured to the sofa. Your house isn't heated, and how late will you get there? Besides, I'm scared to sleep here alone in winter. Linda, how could I refuse such an offer? The guest exclaimed. If I hadn't been afraid of offending you with such a request, I would have asked for it myself. Thank you, I'll gladly stay. After clearing the table and preparing the guest's bed, Linda retired to her room. She dressed in warm pyjamas and snuggled under the downy blanket. Sleep eluded her for a long time, as the terrible scene with her husband and his mistress replayed in her mind. I must have been a poor wife to him, Linda pondered. We started living like neighbours after our son left. We only had dinner together, and he literally slept with his computer, and I didn't object. At first it irritated me, but then I accepted it, and didn't even notice that he didn't need me at all. And Patty kept praising him and feeding him. They say the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. I wonder how long this has been going on. However, what does it matter now? What happened has happened. She tried to reassure herself. The wooden house seemed to possess a unique aura that finally enticed Linda into a deep sleep. She dreamt of floating on a fluffy cloud against a clear blue sky. Upon waking, she felt revitalized and prepared to tackle life's challenges anew. Despite the uncertainty ahead, she was resolved not to fall prey to despair. The house was tranquil. Assuming Kevin was still sleeping, Linda quietly exited the bedroom and glanced into the kitchen. The couch was neatly arranged, and the linens were folded. Linda looked out the window and saw no one there as well. After washing up, she went outside, walked to the gate, and noticed a ski track leading to the end of the street. Linda smiled, realizing that Kevin had gone to a friend's house. Back indoors, she boiled water for tea, made some sandwiches, and enjoyed her breakfast. After inspecting the pantry, she decided to prepare a light chicken broth and vegetable salad for lunch. She phoned her parents and her son to extend holiday wishes. Her voice, filled with festive cheer, betrayed no signs of stress. She said that Stefan joins all the congratulations, but now he was busy with software issue at his work. Linda finished her preparations in the kitchen and stepped outside again. In the yard stood a Christmas tree they had planted a few years ago, when they first bought the cottage. Since then, they had decorated it every New Year's Eve. Well, I can't break tradition, can I? Linda brought a box of ornaments from the pantry and began to decorate the tree. She also hung the garland on it, and satisfied with the work she had done, suddenly remembered the present lying in the glove compartment. For a moment she considered hanging it on the tree, but ultimately took it inside, tucking it away in her dresser drawer. After turning on the garland, Linda went outside once more to admire the decorated tree. She then grabbed a shovel and cleared a path to the sauna. She intended to meet in the new year properly, clean and dressed up. While the sauna was heated, the woman tried to decide about her outfit. After rummaging through her closet, she found a light grey knit dress, worn only a couple of times and still looking new. Yes, it's true what they say. New is well forgotten old, Linda murmured to herself as she put on the dress. She was admiring her reflection in the mirror when she heard the sound of a car pulling up. The woman looked out the window and saw her husband's SUV stopped at the gate. Not wanting to let him in, Linda quickly went outside to confront Stefan. "Why are you here?" she demanded immediately. "I knew you were here," Stefan responded, moving towards her. "So, you remembered you have a wife? And you even got away from your computer and your mistress. Wow. You're right. I had to leave my work and navigate through traffic to get out here to the cottage. Stefan huffed in response. I saw your bag and understood that you know everything. That's good. It saves me from having to explain. But I decided to come see you regardless. But no one was expecting you here, Kevin remarked sharply as he approached the gate of the property on skis. Upon seeing Linda with an unknown man, he immediately assumed it was her husband. Who the hell is that? Stefan asked, noticing Kevin. What business is it of me? I'm still your husband, and I want to know who you're having affairs with, Stefan shouted, deliberately loudly. Deception, cheating are your departments. Don't project them onto me, Linda retorted, matching his raised voice. Or perhaps you've been skipping your business trips to spend time with your lover here, Stefan accused, his voice becoming shrill. Linda stared at him, not recognizing the man she had shared 26 years with. Stefan, what's wrong with you? She asked in a softer tone. The man's cottage is on the same street. Since the road isn't cleared, he left his car at our gate, she explained, trying to justify Kevin's presence without revealing the details of the previous evening. And after that, did you have a wonderful night of love and comfort with him? Am I right? Stefan persisted. Stefan, I don't want to listen to you any further. Get out of here and leave me be alone. Look, I don't want to hear your excuses either. Pack up, let's go home and get ready for the New Year party. Are you crazy? After what I saw yesterday, you think I'm going to celebrate New Year's Eve with you? Why don't we invite Patty too? Why not? Patty will be there too. We have to talk about this whole situation. You know what, my dear hubby? I'm not going to discuss anything with you. Now get out of here and don't piss me off. I don't want to see or hear from either of you any more. When I see fit, then I'll go. And now my patience has run out, cried Linda, and unable to hold back her tears any longer, burst into tears. Well, darling, stop it. Stefan tried to embrace her, but she sharply pushed him away, and from the surprise he even fell into a snowdrift, from where he struggled to get back on the path. Get out of here, Linda shouted through her tears. And don't you forget that this house is our jointly acquired property, Stefan shouted, heading for the gate. Really? Have you forgotten that the money for this cottage was given by my parents? Linda shouted after him. We'll talk about that somewhere else, at the lawyer, for example, he retorted, grinning. How you disgust me, she said, and leaned against the wall of the house without strength. Kevin did not interfere in the couple's conversation, but watched from the side, ready to come to Linda's aid if necessary. Stefan, already gotten into the SUV, looked at Kevin appraisingly. I hope you won't be bored tonight, either. Happy New Year, he shouted before forcefully slamming the car door shut. Stefan turned the car around and drove off, while Kevin immediately rushed over to Linda. I apologize for not coming over right away. I didn't want to interrupt your conversation and compromise you, he said, helping her to her feet. It's all right, Kevin. Honestly, I didn't expect such a heated confrontation. It's the first time we've ever had a conversation like that. I still can't believe he's become such a stranger. I'm sorry about your conversation. You know, my unfaithful wife didn't even call me, Kevin confessed. Perhaps it's for the best. I've noticed she's changed, and my friends who gave me the key to this cottage had been hinting before, but I didn't want to believe it. Our daughter, a high school senior, is on winter camp now, and I'm relieved she's not home. I don't know how it would have looked. Maybe my wife wouldn't bring a lover home if my daughter was home. But then I wouldn't have known all this. Kevin, let's not be sad. The new year is coming soon, Linda said in a tired voice. By the way, how was your visit to your friend's house? Thanks for the skis. It was very convenient to get there. We warmed the house. My friends are planning to come here tomorrow. That's good. You'll have more fun, Linda responded, thinking to herself that she didn't want to be alone. And while your friends are in town, I'm inviting you to lunch. I've already made some chicken soup. Oh, I'd love some hot soup, Kevin said with a smile. Linda was pleased to see how much he enjoyed the simple, uncomplicated food. It's delicious, Linda. You're a great hostess, Kevin complimented after finishing his plate. And you're welcome. Are you going into town today? She asked. You know, I certainly won't leave you here alone now, he confidently replied. Well, if that's so, then we should prepare for the New Year's Eve dinner, Linda said, happy that she wouldn't be alone on New Year's Eve. They prepared salad and marinated the meat to bake in an electric grill. Kevin, I've prepared the sauna. If you want more steam, you'll need to add more firewood, Linda said. Wow, a sauna? I never dreamed of such a relax, Kevin exclaimed joyfully. You'll find a clean towel there. I'm unsure about clothes, though. It seems improper to offer you my husband's shirts. No worries, I have my bag for my business trip. It contains everything I need, Kevin assured her. Linda, remembering her bag in the hallway, felt a pang of unpleasant memories. Well, that's good. If you don't need my help, I'd like to go to the sauna right now, the man said. Yes, enjoy it, Linda said. While Kevin was in the sauna, Linda busied herself with cooking. When he returned, he was wearing a light-coloured sweater, which, surprisingly, matched her knitted dress. We have remarkably similar tastes, Linda thought to herself, surprised. How are you? She said warmly. Thank you. It was amazing, he responded. Great. I'll leave you to watch the food. It should be ready in about 20 minutes. Now I'll go to the sauna myself, she said. Yeah, I've already noticed that mind-blowing aroma, Kevin exclaimed, inhaling the scent of the cooking dish. The evening passed quickly. After returning from the sauna and donning a terry robe, Linda put on her prepared dress and presented herself to Kevin. You look marvellous, Linda. Thank you, Kevin, she responded, blushing, and proceeded to set the dinner table. Kevin offered to spend the passing year with whiskey, and a bottle of champagne was waiting for the new year in the fridge. Linda was delighted to see Kevin enjoying the meal she had prepared. She, too, ate with pleasure. A surprising calmness filled her heart, perhaps due to the peaceful aura of their home and the bathing procedures washing away the day's anxieties and excitement. Linda, thank you for the delicious dinner. I've never eaten anything like it, and the meat is so juicy and tasty, Kevin marvelled. My wife always bought ready-made salads and semi-finished products so as not to bother herself in the kitchen. You know, my husband always ate without really tasting the food and never considered it necessary to say thanks. That's why I sincerely appreciate your praise. When the chimes began to mark the final seconds of the fading year, Kevin uncorked the champagne and filled their glasses. At the last chime, their glasses met with a crystal clink. Happy New Year, Linda. Happy New Year, Kevin. May it be a joyful one for you. And may you find happiness too, Linda, he responded, looking directly into her. They sipped champagne, enjoyed fruit and ice cream, and watched a New Year's Eve music program. The first night of the new year unfolded outside their window. Kevin, shall we step outside? Linda suggested. Let's go out, he cheerfully replied, rising from the table. And I have a present for you, she announced, as her guest was already dressed to leave. Linda pulled it from a dresser drawer. Kevin both looked confused and joyful. He eagerly unwrapped the package to find a pair of suede gloves, perfectly matching his sheepskin coat. Strange. They look as if you chose them just for me, Kevin exclaimed. Kevin, it wasn't me. It was Santa Claus who chose them, retorted Linda, laughing. I have a present for you too, Kevin said, and from the inner pocket of his coat he produced a box of perfume. Linda accepted the gift, albeit a little embarrassed. But you bought this for your wife, didn't you? she said hesitantly. No, not me, but Santa Claus, he replied using her own words. I hope you like it. My wife never likes anything I gave her. Oh my God, Kevin, this is my favourite perfume. I've been using it for years, she exclaimed, still marvelling at the coincidence. Well then, my joy is boundless. Congratulations. Linda immediately opened the box and sprayed the perfume several times, enveloping herself in a cloud of fragrance. The room filled with a sensual floral and fruity scent. I really adore this perfume. Thank you, Kevin. It's unexpected and very pleasant. Kevin and Linda stepped outside, inhaling the fresh, frosty air. Upon reaching the main road, they saw fireworks lighting up the sky from all corners of the settlement. This is my first time celebrating New Year's Eve at a summer house, Kevin expressed in awe. I never would have thought it would be this great. We all have a first time for everything, Linda said thoughtfully. However, despite everything, I'm happy today, Linda, Kevin said, his voice ringing through the frosty air like the chime of ice shards. And I feel very well today too, Kevin, and it's mostly to your credit. Thank you for being on this road yesterday, at what was not the most favourable hour for either of us. The charm of New Year's Eve night was irresistible, making them reluctant to go inside. Linda and Kevin stepped onto the veranda and, without turning on the light, admired the twinkling lights of the garland adorning the Christmas tree. They say on New Year's Day wishes come true, Linda said mysteriously. So we'll make wishes and let them come true. And they also say, with whom you meet the new year, with whom you spend it, said Kevin, looking at her slyly. And I heard that an hour in the morning is worth two in the evening. If you like my sofa, it's waiting for you right now, Linda cheerfully replied. Of course, I prefer the owner of the sofa, but if she offered me only sofa, then so be it, thought Kevin to himself. Good night, Kevin, Linda said earnestly. Good night, Kevin responded in the same tone. With a simultaneous sigh, they entered the house and went to their rooms. I'll be fine, and who knows, maybe Kevin and I really will spend this year together, Linda thought, wrapping herself in a blanket and smiling gently, fell asleep. I will still make a wish because tonight is a wonderful night, and everything surely will come true, thought Kevin, and with a dreamy smile on his face closed his eyes, remembering Linda's beauty.